This has been a fabulous conversation. It really has, Becky. And sadly, we're running out of time. But there are two questions I must ask you.
Go.
Right?
That's okay.
First of all, 2012. I don't know
Yes.
what your take is on 2012 and how it's going to evolve. But in terms of a bigger picture, how it's going to affect us all.
Yeah.
Well, what's your sense around that?
Well, I mean, we've actually lost the 24-hour day after the, I think it was the earthquake in Chile.
Right.
Has knocked the Earth off its axis
Oh,
very
right.
slightly.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, which is all part of this move towards ascension and the shift of consciousness. For me, it's a case of, I don't like dates, I'm not so fond on dates.
Right.
But for me, where we're actually heading is that we are getting to a point where we are going to start choosing love as a vibrational frequency. So everything is made of sound. So things, again, when I was talking about California, the polarity shift there, because spirituality is so strong, because in actual fact things are also so bad.
Yeah.
Things on Earth have to get really bad before we start choosing love. So when we've started to see this outpouring of money going to Haiti, going to Chile, all of us making shifts of consciousness, I actually believe when Princess Diana died, she said she wanted to be the queen in people's hearts. She literally opened England's heart chakra that had been closed since the war with a stiff upper lip. So in actual fact, you know, all of these things that are happening within the world are making us choose love. We're being forced. Now, there's the 100th monkey syndrome, which was the scientists that were watching the monkeys, and the monkeys started, I'll just cut this really short, but the monkeys started washing fruit that had sand on it.
Yeah.
So they don't know if it was a tipping point of 100 monkeys or how many of the monkeys, but all of the monkeys started washing fruit. Not the monkeys that just witnessed, but monkeys on neighbouring islands, and then eventually all over the world. The steam engine was created by a number of different people at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's a tipping point in consciousness, because everything's made of sound, where when everyone starts singing a different octave. So in other words, if you imagine that the ego is a bit like do, re, mi, and then it kind of like goes mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and the higher the sound, the more connected to love we are, or the higher the light frequency.
So am I right in thinking what you're saying is that when we reach that certain love vibration,
Yeah.
then everyone will
Tip.
tip.
Into the love
that will be the
vibration.
fruit
Yes.
that will be washing the sand off,
Absolutely.
as it were. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we don't know if it's 51%. That's a great assumption.
Does it matter?
But basically, everyone needs to just start to listen on a stage 3 level,
Yeah.
to connect with love in their own life. And that's why I wrote a book on love.
Beautiful.
Is to connect with love in their own life and start thinking where and how they can bring more love into their life,
Yeah.
and less fear. And the more we shift towards love, the more we inspire other people to do it. But just by being in the same space, we shift someone else into thinking, into being more loving. So the more loving we become, the more other people become loving, and eventually we'll get to a tipping point where we all become more loving. And then hopefully, I mean, you know, the peace on earth nirvana thing, I don't know if we'll all become, you know, the duality will stop. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me.
Yes.
It doesn't really matter the end result. The most important response to me is that we all become more loving and end this ridiculous way of life. We can't keep destroying the planet. We can't keep destroying each other. We can't keep killing each other.
Yeah.
We've got to get done with it at some point. But unfortunately, things usually have to get really bad before we're willing to let go of capitalism. Because we need to give power to, not have power over.
Yeah.
But we're too scared to give power to, in case the people we give power to then have power over us. It's like sitting on a ball. Who's going to be on top of the ball? If we give power to, then they end up at the top of the ball and have power over.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes the world go round is if we keep giving power to, power to, power to, and then the whole thing goes round. And that's the movement of love, is to constantly be
I
giving
like that, yeah.
like power to. So I
Yeah.
always give power to my partner, power to my clients, power to my friends.
Yeah.
I don't want power over. And that, in actual fact, is the only way that we're going to be able to live in a non-capitalistic society. And we're actually going to get to a point where we can really live in peace, is to give power to, not power over. But everyone will have to be doing it, and that's what the tipping point is.
Fabulous. What is the love in what Becky does? Where is the love and the joy in what you do?
In my work?
Yeah, in your work and what you do. Because, I mean, you're so enthusiastic, so energetic in your conversation. And,
I just
what is the Tell us about Becky's juice, where that's flowing and how it's flowing.
It's so overwhelming, and I can feel myself going teary, but it's so just humbling and overwhelming and so incredible, and I'm so grateful, it's unbelievable, to be able to give birth with someone's light bulb moment. When they have a moment, a shift of consciousness, a removal of a strap of ego, a thought or an idea that takes them closer to love, just something, some inkling that lets go of a holding point. I don't really like the word block, but really all blocks are just made of things that, we all have blocks, but the blocks are a holding point because we don't have all the information. So when I can share information and that light bulb moment goes off, and I feel it, I really, really feel it very deeply, and it excites me, and I love that, and that's really it. And it's not so much even just the one-to-one clients where you feel it. I feel it especially when I'm teaching and when I'm in a room full of people. And I tell you, the overwhelmment when you say something and you feel the entire room shift, and everyone in the room starts humming, because I can hear everyone. So when everyone starts making the same sound in the room, and people like Tony Robbins and people like that have been running on this as a marketing tool for a very long time, and I'm not saying what he's doing is bad or anything, but when you get a team of 1,000 people all together doing the same thing and thinking the same thoughts, it's transformational and really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I believe that spirituality has used this. I'm really against spiritual capitalism, spirituality capitalism. There's a lot of it around, where people get large groups of people together and use the energy to be able to make a lot of money from the fact that the person feels incredible great when they're around all of these people because they're feeding off this excitement, and then when they go back to their own bedroom, zhumph. And not only zhumph, and they're now in debt because they've had to pay an awful lot of money for this seminar weekend, which they felt great for a few days and then crashed, and now they feel stupid because they're paying off the debt. So that stuff drives me a little crazy. But to be in amongst all of that shift is just my absolute pleasure and my complete honour, and I can't think of anything better. I got involved in theatre as a stage manager to do that with audiences. So I've always wanted to do that, and I wanted to give an audience the feeling that you get when you see a piece of theatre and you are changed. I didn't know at the time that it's because the whole audience journeys with the actor's emotions. And when I'm on stage, because I do like performing, when I'm on stage I can feel it, when I'm in the audience I can feel it. As a stage manager I couldn't feel it. So I spent 15 years trying to get it, and I could only get it from my own productions and my own creativity, which is why I do stand-up comedy, because I want to give the audience that feeling. And to me, that's what I'm actually addicted to it. I really love being in that presence and being able to be the storyteller, to be able to be the alchemist of emotions, to be able to be the person who can play and bring out and share, which creates this sound from everybody. I like episodes of Heroes, and it's like being that woman. You can see these lights coming off people, so you can see the sound as it changes and emulates, and it's all colours, and you see the colours changing, and you feel the frequency changing. And I can't play a musical instrument, but I can play the musical instrument that is an audience, and that is beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's great fun.
As I was in the audience on Friday night, I can certainly vouch for that. Let me just ask you one final question, just quickly. What message would you like to give people listening? What would you like people to walk away from, to take away from this from this interview, in terms of what is it that you could say to people now listening out there and watching this interview, how perhaps to make a real difference in their lives, apart from buying the book?
Is that being intuitive is, everyone has it. So being intuitive is about being able to open yourself up to feeling safe in your life and not anxious and not living with anxiety, which means that you can open your heart up fully to love because you trust yourself not to make bad decisions about other people, and you trust yourself not to judge other people's ego because you can see where they're coming from, and that really intuitive loving is a gateway to shift consciousness. And yeah, that's it. Intuitive loving is a gateway to shift consciousness.
Fantastic. Becky, it's been an honour and a pleasure. Thank you
you
very much for coming, and wonderfully enlightening. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really touched. Thank you.